Alright, so in the next part of this guide, I'm going to be talking about movement. And I'm going to give a little introduction. I'm going to talk about the power of sliding. And I'm also going to talk about the power of crouching and how crouching can benefit you. So a little introduction is that your own player movement can also heavily influence whether or not you win or lose engagements. Understanding how each class is able to move with their different exotics, jump, and class abilities can allow you to achieve such a state. Warlocks can Warlock skate and have access to Burst Glide and Blink, allowing them to horizontally move faster around the map. Hunters can jump very high vertically, and in combination with certain exotics and high mobility, they can easily jump across large distances and cover large areas of the map. And Titans have a sort of intermediate jump between Hunters and Warlocks, allowing for both vertical and horizontal movement at a fast pace, but their movement heavily is influenced by gravity. So, for example, I'm playing as a Warlock here. I have Burst Glide selected. I have high mobility, but I also have an exotic that buffs my sprint, my sliding, my crouch movement, and my general just movement, my movement speed. So I know how to burst glide effectively. So most people don't know is Warlock glide is like momentum based. So when you burst glide, you want to burst as soon as you jump off the ground. Well, not as soon, but like close to soon, so that you're boosting far. The longer you're in the air, you see how I slowed down there? You want to tap, burst, and then tap again to take you out of the burst so your momentum carries you forward as a Warlock. So I'm tapping, tapping again, come out of the burst, but I'm moving forward. Every time I burst, I'm giving myself a burst of a momentum. If I stay in the glide, like, I mean, first off, I went into the wall there, but if I stay in the glide, I go slower over time than if I'm burst, 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 burst. See how much faster I move because I understand how to burst glide? If you're a hunter, understand that maxing your mobility and wearing stompies is going to allow you to jump, not only jump super high, but cover large distances incredibly fast. So knowing how to take advantage of your movement abilities can allow you to not only transverse the map quicker and to get into more favorable positions as like we talked about before, it can also just help you like move, just moving around the map, getting into your next engagement, getting to engagements faster. Like if you're like this and you're just bursting, you're not doing that burst technique I just showed you, well, first off, if you're in the air as a warlock, you're sitting duck unless you've got a plan already set up. You're gonna want to get back on the ground and get yourself into another position that favors you instead. If I'm in the air like this, because I don't understand how to use my glide function, I'm slowly descending like that instead of going up and then canceling my burst so I drop down faster, people are gonna have all the time in the world to just beat me down and kill me. So understand how your jumping mechanic and your ability mechanics affect your movement can allow you to stay alive longer. I mean, and of course, it's just one of the most basic things to be covering before you even get into PvP. When you're in PvE, you have had all the time in the world to figure out how to how to effectively combo your jumping into your movement and how to effectively combo your exotics into your movement. And the next thing I want to talk about that combos into this is the power of sliding. So sliding is an incredibly strong movement technique. Sliding around can make it harder for your enemies to hit your head as they must adjust for the speed at which you may come around a corner or at slash around them and the fact that your head is now lower than at normal head height, causing them to have to make adjustments to hit you. Never slide directly at someone unless you have a reliable one-shot tactic. So if I'm aping, so pretend my sidearm is an ape here in this instance. The only time I'm ever going to want to slide directly at someone like this is if I have a shotgun and I can close the distance and effectively get into one-shot range. However, if I'm sliding at them with an auto, I'm sliding in a straight line. It is incredibly easy for an enemy to track me since I'm sliding in a straight line. When you're sliding, when you're engaging someone, instead of sliding directly at them, you want to slide from side to side. First off, it makes your head harder to hit. It makes it harder for the enemy to target you because you're almost so random. It's not like they're gonna struggle to hit you. Like, most competent players will be able to track you effectively, and we'll talk about that later. But you are making it more difficult for them to aim at you than if you were to just run at them. I've had a handfuls of matches where people have an ape or um, an auto or whatever, and they're trying to run at me in a straight line, and all I do is I backpedal and I just shoot them down. There's nothing they can do because all they're doing is running in a straight line. Instead, they could have been sliding into cover, sliding side to side. It's much harder for me to have to track them and to shoot them than it is for me if they're just running at me. So sliding directly at someone makes you a lot easier to hit than sliding from side to side. You should also slide in and out of cover, as if you are to strafe out of cover, similar to if you just run at someone, it's a lot easier to predict that movement. When I'm moving like this, it's a lot easier for someone to hit my head because I'm making this linear movement. However, say I'm coming here and I want to take this duel with someone that I know is standing here and I can win it. Instead of strafing out, I'm gonna slide out. First off, it's not like a straight line really. If I slide out like this, like if I slide away, kind of creates that like zigzag movement, they're gonna have to adjust. They're gonna have to adjust. Oh, he's sliding instead of strafing. Well, instead of him being out here, he's out here. So I gotta whoop like that. I gotta adjust. And in that time that they're adjusting, you're not getting shot. Well, hopefully, it's a considerable amount, or it's a small amount of time where you're not getting shot. This allows you to prepare yourself for the duel, for that engagement. So you're not instantly getting beamed when you're coming around out of cover. It gives you some leeway because they have to adjust and you're already ready for them because you know that they're there. They have to adjust for you sliding. You don't have to adjust at all because they're standing out in the open. You probably just won that duel because of um, them just standing out in the open and you making them adjust their aim because you didn't strafe out linearly. It's not, and of course, like I've said before, it's not like when you're sliding, you're impossible to hit or something. People are still gonna hit you. Like, that's just how it is with FPS games. People are not totally incompetent, or at least the matches I've been in, people aren't totally incompetent where they just whiff every bullet when you're here. Maybe they'll get a body, like most players will get a body or whatever if they're not the greatest players. They're still gonna hit you, but it's gonna be a lot harder for them to track you and hit you. So you want to be sliding in and out of cover, in in and about around your enemies. And the next thing I'm going to talk about, which I didn't write down, is crouching and how powerful crouching can be. So if you've ever played in a match and you noticed, oh, a player I'm chasing, like I'm chasing him down the stairs, all of a sudden he's gone. He's off the radar. What happened? Like, if you know hunters, yeah, get that dodge where they're taken off the radar, but oh, it was a Titan. They don't have an ability that makes them go off radar unless they're using Rat King or something like that. What that means is that they're probably crouching around the corner or they died. But if you're smart, you probably know they ran to an area where they haven't been killed off at, and they're probably just crouching. How does how are they off the radar? Does crouching really do that? Yes, it does. If you notice, while I'm crouching here in the top left corner, you see my blip is blinking every so often. This doesn't exactly mean that when your blip is off the radar that you're invisible. It's not very consistent to what you're seeing, but just know as soon as you start crouching, you probably have about, I'd say about 3 to 5 seconds of invisibility time off the radar. Like your ping will disappear from the radar. You can use this to your advantage to bait people. So most players will be like, oh, where'd he go? He's probably dead. They're not even going to check this corner where this dude is crouched at. And imagine my sidearm is a shotgun. I'm waiting here because I'm baiting that player. They think I'm gone. They're like, oh, not even going to check that. They didn't check it. Pop. I just aped them. They're dead now because I used that crouching tactic to my advantage. You can also, not only can you use this tactic to bait players out by coming around walls and having them chase you and then crouching, you're off radar, they think you're dead or gone or something that you surprise them. Not only can you do that bait tactic, you can also just use it for effectively acquiring information. If you've ever seen me play, or if you've seen gameplay of me, I might upload some gameplay of me playing to better demonstrate this thing that I do most effectively is that I crouch around the map a lot when I'm not in duels. And when I'm doing this, I'm looking up at my radar. I'm seeing where all the players are because radar's on 24/7 in this game. You can see where people are. When I'm crouching, people, sure, they'll see me every few seconds on radar, but they're not going to know where I am most of the time. They're going to be looking at my enemies and seeing my enemies and seeing where they are. This allows me to kind of stealth walk around the map a little more effectively, but it also just allows me to mask my presence. And when I notice people are getting closer, I can show myself back on radar. It might surprise enemies, and then I can catch them off guard. And it's very, very useful when you're aping or sniping, because when you're shotgunning, it's a one shot. When you're sniping, it's a one shot. You can catch people off guard. Maybe there's a lane you want to peek. Like, say you peek this common lane. And like how we said in the positioning guide is, yeah, when you strafe out a cover here, expect enemies to be here. But if you're crouched like this, they might not know you're here because you're off radar for a period of time, which makes them think that you might be moving like in and away from them. You're not actually real as close as they may think. And when you crouch like this, maybe you come crouched out of cover, you catch them off guard. Now you're able to snipe them. So crouching is a very powerful tool in this game. Not a lot of players utilize it as effectively as I have seen. Crouching can definitely give you the upper hand, and it presents a lot of information gain for you and your teammates to benefit off of. So definitely use this tactic to either bait players out thinking that you've died, or just using it to gather information, keep yourself off the mini map for, every few seconds of time, and using that, that this like fake stealth that you've done for yourself to surprise enemy players. And it's a short topic, but that pretty much covers the movement part of this guide. It's just sliding and crouching really. Movement was kind of covered as just knowing your class, knowing how to use your jumps, just moving around, knowing when to slide, knowing how to use the crouch to bait people. It's not overly complex, but it definitely is an important set of skills that you need to know in order to win fights and to win matches. And in the next part of this guide, I'm going to be talking about aiming, tracking, and pre-aiming. I'm going to do a little introduction again. As always, I'm going to talk about aiming and tracking and how they go hand in hand. And then I'm going to talk about pre-aiming and how that can help you improve your PvP game.